Hey everyone, and welcome to the Mae Cave. My name is Megan, and today I'm going to do a book review of The Beginning of the World in the Middle of the Night by Jen Campbell. I buddy read this book with Charles from Sir Booksage about 2 weeks ago now, maybe 3. So I'll link him down below. Go check him out. He has a great channel. So what we did is we read 2 stories a night for 6 days, or 2 stories a day for 6 days, for a total of 12 stories in the short story collection, and I'm going to tell you what I think about it. The first part of this video, I am going to do a non-spoilery kind of quick review, and then I'll talk more in depth about each story and do a little more of a spoilery discussion. So I'll let you know when that happens so you're not getting into the spoilers. So the overall book, I did really enjoy most of the stories. I would give the book probably a 4-star rating. There was one story that I gave 2 stars, 4 stories that I gave 3 stars, 2 stories that I gave 3.5 stars, 2 stories that I gave 4 stars, and 3 stories that I gave 4 stars. 4.5 stars. There we go. That was a lot of numbers. That sounded confusing. So overall, I did enjoy the book. There were a few stories that I really think could make great novels if you expanded the plot, but with the same elements that it has in the short story, which I loved. I think those stories were Plum Pie, Green Monsters, Purple oh man, what is that? I can never remember that title. It's so long. I don't know why. What is it? Plum Pie, Zombie Green, Yellow Bee, Purple Monster. That is one that I think will be a really great novel, and I just love that one. I think I gave that one 4.5 stars. Or no, I gave that one 4 stars. But anyway, I love that one. There's a few others in here that I really love. They have great elements to them that are different than what you would expect for a ghost story, for instance, or the title story, The Beginning of the World in the Middle of the Night, was a really sweet story. It was bittersweet, and I really love that one. The one that I gave 2-star rating was actually the first story called Animals, which it was kind of okay. I kind of enjoyed the general idea behind the plot, but I didn't really like the characters. It just wasn't for me, so that's the only one I really didn't enjoy that much. And then there was one that I kind of felt was just out of place, but overall I did enjoy this book, and I highly recommend it to those of you that like magical realism and short stories and just sweet and general endearing stories that are in here. One of the qualms I have with it, though, is that it has a lot of stories that have disjointed writing styles. At least they're disjointed to me, in which she has one paragraph of something and then it cuts to a different sentence or two that's about something else completely different, and then back and then forth, and it's just not my style, and I personally don't enjoy that kind of writing. But most of the stories made up for that, and it's definitely a book I'm going to keep on my shelves, and I do enjoy it, and I want to go back to some of these stories and read them again and again. So, I mean, some of them, not all of the stories I'll read again. I'd say at least half are ones that I would really enjoy reading again. So, I definitely recommend it. At least give it a try, even if it doesn't sound like it might be for you. I think at least some of the stories in here are good for you, and I think that's one of the good things about a short story collection, is that even if you don't like 1 or 2 of the stories, you're bound to like at least one of them in there, and that's in itself a good experience, even if you only like 1 of them. So, there's that. I guess that's it for my non-spoilery discussion. I recommend it. I give it 4-star rating, and now we're going to go into the spoilery part. So I'll put the book down so you guys know that I'm done with the non-spoilery area. So for the spoilery section, I'm just going to go through it story by story and give you a little bit more of what I felt with more specifics. So if you've already read the book, you can get more detail of what I felt, because it's hard to talk about each short story without giving away spoilers. So like I said, the first story, Animals, is the one story that I gave 2 stars. It had a disjointed writing style I didn't care for. The plotline was kind of cool, but again, I don't like what the main character was doing and why. It just seemed very out there for me, and it's like, that's kind of wrong. So that one wasn't for me. And the second one, Jacob, I loved Jacob. I gave that one 4.5 stars. 4.5 stars. And I loved that it was his perspective of what was going on in his life, even if what he thought was going on was different than what was actually going on, or if he didn't understand things. It was very interesting to see his sweet, innocent perspective. It was very endearing, and I love stories like that. So that one really took my heart a little bit. And then, like I said, for number 3, Plum Pie, Zombie Green, Yellow Bell, Purple Monster. I got it! Ha! Okay, I love that one. That one I gave 4 stars. The writing style was, again, disjointed, but I think the story made up for it this time. I really love the story. I really love it to be expounded on in a novel, and to really take it where it would take the plot farther, especially with the young girl that went missing, and these kids that are part plant, and why they're being farmed. I mean, obviously there's a why, but you know, who's doing it, and what does everyone else think of these children? I think that would be a really great novel. And then story 4, In the Dark, I gave this one 3.5 stars. I thought it was okay. I mean, it was kind of interesting, especially the very end, but the whole thing felt like a snippet of this one big book. Like, she took a book, took this one particular part out, and put it in here. So I felt like I should have known more, if relevant information to the story. Otherwise, this particular short story doesn't seem relevant in any way. Like, I should have known something more about the guy that came into the house or something. So it was kind of just, eh. I mean, it was alright, but I'm probably not going to read that one again. Story number 5, Margaret Berry and the End of the World. Again, I liked this one, but it had that disjointed writing style that I didn't care for. It would kind of talk about things that were only semi-relevant. And it was interesting that she put in, like, art pieces into the stories like this one. But I feel like it could have been done better. But I also think that this one would be good as a really full novel. You know, she's gotten pregnant by the Reverend. Charles from Sir Brooksage thinks that maybe the mother was also being with the Reverend. And I thought that would be an interesting dynamic to see how, not only how she reacts to her daughter, but also how she reacts to the Reverend, which wasn't put into the story. And then later in life, the daughter goes to the mom and is like, what happened to my child that I had? Can you tell me? I think it'd be a very interesting novel to have the whole story, like, put out and have the viewpoint of the baby, because the baby's taken away. So I think those two lines that would eventually meet back together would be a very great novel, and I would love to read something like that. Story number 6, Little Deaths. I gave this one 4.5 stars. I thought it was such a unique story revolving ghosts, and I really love to see this one as maybe a longer short story. But what it was still worked as a great short story, but I feel like it could be expounded into a full long novel. Gosh, I'm like messing up my words here. And Charles from Sir Brooksage pointed out that if it was made into a movie, it would be a really good movie for Miyazaki to do. I'm like, oh, that would be so cool for Miyazaki to do this kind of ghost story. If you guys agree with me, let me know, because I think that would be awesome. The title story, number 7, I loved this one. I gave it 4.5 stars. I thought it was so sweet and endearing. I love that you can really get a sense of the characters' personalities just from their dialogue with each other. And they kind of reminded me of my husband and I, just the way that they interact with each other. I loved it. It was very bittersweet once you get to the end and you realize who she's really talking to and what happened and why her sister's checking on her. And so that made me sad. But overall, it was a really good story, and I really loved that. I think it worked really well as a short story. Again, I could probably see it as a novel, but the way she had it worked really well as a short story. Story number 8, Pebbles. I gave this one 3 stars. I thought it was cute. The love story was cute, but the part about the war was kind of confusing. I wasn't sure if there was currently a war, or if maybe one of them was remembering a war, and maybe one of them died. I wasn't really sure. It was very confusing. The writing style was very disjointed, which didn't help with me being confused. So the love story itself seemed kind of cute, but I just didn't really understand what was going on. So that one I don't know if it just went over my head, or if tell me if you feel the same way, because I really just did not understand. Charles was thinking that maybe it was a love story in which someone was remembering and one of the two had died in the war, but that's kind of all we got, and I don't know if the war was currently happening or what was going on. So it was kind of cute, but I feel like there could have been more to it, is all. Story number 9, Aunt Libby's Coffin Hotel. I really enjoyed that one. I gave it 4 stars. It was very good story. I enjoyed Cerberus. I like the dog. I love dogs. And how they put in history to the story, how she was saying, oh, well, these people over here, they believe in this certain thing, and that's how this works, and, you know, little anecdotes here and there. I really enjoyed that. I like the setup that they had for the hotel, and the ending was really interesting. I know that she probably did it that way so that we could kind of use our own imagination to see what happened. I think it was the little red lights, and they were actually fairies or spirits or something coming to I don't know if they were mad or if they wanted to take part of it, but I would love to see that. I think that'd be a really cool story. I think all of these would be great novels, apparently. Story number 10, Sea Devils. I gave this one 3 stars. It was interesting, but as a lot of short stories, it was very, it's condensed, of course. It's a short story, but I feel like this one could have been larger. I feel like Tabs, obviously very hypocritical in what she said to this child versus what she was actually doing with the cat and everything. It was very interesting that she actually put that into play, saying to the child, well, if you sin like this with a man, then you have to, drink the blood of a cat or something like that? And then the cat goes missing and the child doesn't know why, but of course we know that Tabs did the thing, and it was a very interesting story. I think it would be a really good novel to see it from both perspectives, their lives twining, and then going from there, how the child grows up and sees what Tabs is doing, and what Tabs is doing in her mind, and how she feels like she's doing her life. And I thought it would be interesting to really see that one lengthened. With story number 11, Human Satellites, I gave this one a 3-star rating. It just didn't jive with me. It felt like a bunch of snippets of newspaper headlines stuck together about a certain political climate that obviously is very similar to our own. And then that's all you got was like, here's this headline and this thing and that thing and here's a statistic here. It felt like either the beginning of a video game or the prologue of a book saying, here's the general history of what's been going on the past 3 years of the political climate, then we'll throw you into the story so you're not completely confused as to what's going on. So it felt like that little brochure almost about a political climate, and it was kind of interesting, but it also didn't fit with the rest of the stories in the book. So I don't know why that one was there, and I probably won't read that one again. And then with the last story, Bright White Heart, story number 12, I gave this one... Oh, I start that over. And with the last story, number 12, The Bright White Heart, I gave this one a 3.5-star rating. It was an interesting story, and obviously you could tell that it was written from Jen's perspective of life, and that was very interesting, and I did like it, but it had that disjointed writing style again that I don't really enjoy, and that kind of took away from it. I feel like this would have been a lot better short story if there was a little more about the characters in it. And one thing that bugged me about the aquarium, now this is going to be a personal thing, most other people probably don't notice this, but the mantis shrimp. So 2 years ago, I was in a biology class and I was doing a paper and like a research project on eyesight. Mine was specific to eyesight and how humans see things versus how dogs see things. And one of the creatures I used was a mantis shrimp. Now, she is right in saying that they see a lot of colors. They actually have 16 color cones in their eyes compared to humans who only have 3. And so we postulate that they can see tons of more colors than we can. There hasn't been a lot of study, though, because they're very dangerous creatures. Even though they're very tiny, they have these, like, pinchers at the front of their bodies that they can just jab out at their prey. And they are so strong with one punch that they can break most high-grade plexiglass, even though they're so tiny. And so that actually makes them illegal to house in any aquarium or as a pet or anything. As far as I'm aware, in most places, if not everywhere in the world, because they're just that dangerous. So it bugged me that in her story, she was saying that they had a mantis shrimp and they just had to keep a close eye on it. Those things are really dangerous, and that shouldn't be a thing that's brought up. I mean, again, it's most of the stuff is magical realism, so it probably doesn't matter as much. But it's just something I noticed, and it kind of bugged me because when you're doing research on the mantis shrimp, that's one of the first things that comes up, at least when I was researching it. So now I'm just kind of ranting. It's probably nothing important. It really isn't. It's just something that bugged me personally, and I'm over it now. That's it. I'm done. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. So overall, I did enjoy most of the stories in this book. I think it'd be really great if some of these were turned into novels. I would totally read some of these, especially the ones about the plant children or the little colorful ghosts or something. Yeah, that's it. Overall, I really do enjoy this book, so I'm definitely going to keep it. I highly recommend it to everyone. It's just good, sweet, endearing, innocent fun, and I love it. But I'm going to stop rambling now, so thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you have any comments, or if you've read this book and you want to talk to me about it, then let me know down in the comments below and we can discuss it. We can discuss it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!